Hello and welcome to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by none other than myself, Ben, and we've got Daniel behind the camera for this one.
All right, we'll just start it off. Let's try something a bit different this time. Thought we'd do a little bit of an interview format. Unfortunately, I could not make it to this wonderful film that Ben will be reviewing today.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, I've just caught the Whale, which is Darren Aronofsky's latest. Daniel was unable to catch the session, but thought a review would be better than none. So I guess Daniel's probably thought of some questions, being he's an avid fan of Mother and probably has a few regarding the movie. I've obviously got my opinions and thoughts, but I guess if you want to, ask away.
Look, Mother still scars me generally, that movie. I've watched it a couple of times now and I shouldn't have. It is phenomenal. But anyway, we'll go on to it. We'll just start where we kind of normally would in a podcast format. What were your initial thoughts on this film? Give me a kind of rough rundown of your overall thoughts on this film overall.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I can understand that it's certainly not for everyone. It is definitely a hard watch, which Darren Aronofsky is no stranger to. For anyone who doesn't know, as I said, he has directed Mother, Black Swan, which is another thought-provoking, messed-up film, The Wrestler, Requiem for a Dream. The plot, for anyone who doesn't know, is very similar to The Wrestler, actually, a previous film of his. It's set over a week period where Brendan Fraser is playing a man who weighs 600 pounds. They don't actually say it in the movie, but on the internet, that's exactly what it says, which isn't light. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
And he essentially is given a medical, prognosis and tries to reconnect with his estranged daughter. So that's basically the plot. It's a very, as the plot kind of gives away, it's a very hard to watch film. It's certainly a performance-based film. There's only about 5 cast members in the film.
Not many.
So it's 99% of the movie, for instance, takes place in his apartment. So it's it's not like a normal film where you watch and there's hundreds and hundreds of location. It's really claustrophobic and it's made to feel that way. It's also filmed in a 4:3 setting, which for anyone who doesn't know, it's about a quarter of the screen and height. And it's also made in a very interesting way. Feels like there's no color correction. It's made in a very realistic way, which I guess kind of evokes that claustrophobic feeling. And it definitely worked for the film, and it's easily a performance-based film. Like Brendan Fraser, obviously he's pretty much the front runner for the Oscar, pretty much sewn it up after this film. He's very, very good. Sadie Sink's also fantastic, and Hong Chow, who's his friend / nurse who looks after him, is fantastic. Certain moments didn't hit for me, but the characters I really liked. The one thing that this film does brilliantly, right, which it's very human. It's human in a way that I can't really explain extremely well, to the point where everyone's kind of a dick.
Good.
But also extremely nice. But what it does, right, is it shows you both sides of the story, that we don't get, I guess, in real life. Like, you might meet someone and you're like, fuck, they're a wanker.
Yep.
What this film does is it shows you these moments, and it shows, for instance, this one character saying something really messed up or really hurtful, but then it also shows what they've been through and what they've dealt with, and the pain and the loss and the grief that they've...
A lot of realism.
Realistic. And it showed that's something that we don't really get the benefit of in real life in terms of finding out those sort of deeper things as to, this woman's like this because she's seen her, brother pass away and go through this same situation. And that's why she's so angry, because he's, eating himself to death kind of thing. So it's it shows that, it's not really spoilers, by the way.
It sounds very difficult to watch, though.
It is. It is hard to watch. I must admit, I was a bit more dry-eyed than I thought. I thought it was going to be really, really heavy-hitting, and there are heavy-hitting scenes, but it doesn't sort of evoke, I'm not bawling my eyes out like Marley and Me or Coco or anything. It's it's hard to watch, certainly, but it's not I'm bawling my eyes out kind of depressing kind of thing. But I just loved that aspect. But yeah, not every moment hit for me. There were emotional moments, but the ending was kind of lost me a little bit. But other than that, there's certainly things to take away from it. You kind of want to contact everyone you love and tell them you care about them, and to stop, being a dickhead. And
Fair. Well, you kind of touched on it a fair bit throughout that, but with Brendan Fraser's acting, seeing it as is one of his kind of like comeback films per se back into it. How do you, I guess, kind of rate his role that he played and how he acted throughout that entire film? And was it a worthy comeback?
Yeah. It was.
It was good.
It's also the film's also written by Samuel Hunter, which I looked up. He also wrote the play.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if they've rewritten the script or whether it's something that they've just went, here's the play, let's make it.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's very much adapted from a play, just the fact that it's all one setting kind of thing. But in terms of his performance, he really like the script is what I guess he worked with heavily. But Darren Aronofsky, as you've seen with Mother, I don't know if you've seen the other films I named. He has an ability to get these performances out of people. And that performance is something that we've never really seen. It's something that I don't think he could play, 20 years ago when he was doing The Mummy, George in the Jungle, things like that.
Yeah.
Because he evokes so much pain and hurt that it almost feels like everything he went through in the past 20 years where Hollywood have shut him out, all the assault rumors and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's rumors, but all that situation, it's almost as if it's almost as if the stuff he went through, he really went, I'm going to,
Yeah, okay.
steal that.
He's really put his full heart and soul into it.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the trailer, the one line, for instance, where he's like, I want to do one thing good in my life. I was tearing up at that moment. Like, that's a very hard-hitting scene.
It looked tough.
But it's definitely worthy of a comeback, and I would be extremely happy. They're vastly different performances, like Colin Farrell's in Banshees or even Austin Butler's in Elvis. I would not be complaining if Brendan Fraser won the Oscar at all. I don't necessarily think he's better than either of them just because they're vastly different, right? But definitely worthy of coming back for it. It's something, I don't know if I'll watch the film again just because, as I said, it is very
all right, so if I got to watch it, I'll watch it by myself. Yeah. You kind of touched on a bit out of your initial review again, but what was this film's, I guess, give me the rough bones version of it. What would you think this film's greatest strength is and maybe greatest weakness?
The greatest strength's definitely the performances and the ability to evoke emotion, as I said. Like, in terms of the setting, like, he directed the shit out of this movie. Like, everything is done for a reason. The fact that it's 4:3, it's already claustrophobic with that. It's in one setting. It's it's colored to feel really realistic. The best bit definitely is the performances, though. Like, the film doesn't work if it's got poor performances because it's, as I said, it's being such a heavy hitting film in one setting as well. It really relies on the performance. It's not as if it's like, what we saw the other film with Tar, where there is one performance, but it's got other aspects that really need to hit, like the music, the story and things like that. Whereas this is almost, regardless of the story, it's just one setting. It's just a performance-based film. In terms of its weakness, it actually probably comes to that as well.
Performances.
It comes in a weird way. It's its greatest strength, but also its greatest weaknesses because I think it relies too heavily on it.
Okay.
So in terms of the performances, while they're so good, it's relying so heavily on it that while you build these characters up and you evoke those feelings, it's really focused on that too so much that the ending kind of, by that time, had so much built up tension between, the main two characters, Brendan Fraser and his daughter, Sadie Sink, who, we also see in Stranger Things, which she was great. It's almost, I mean, for certain people it might be, but for me, the payoff of the ending, his whole idea of it with the 7 days that it's set in is to reconnect with his daughter, right? And it's like, I feel like it either was too short or they probably edited it a bit weirdly or pacing in terms it just feels like the payoff wasn't quite there because we potentially spent too much time with these, not necessarily Fraser's character, but potentially the side character, there's, I guess, a Jehovah's Witness character that spends a bit of time, and it's just the payoff of the ending and the emotional side of it. It didn't necessarily hit for me. Not that it was awful or anything, but I think that was its greatest weakness, is that I guess it focused too much on that aspect.
That's really interesting. I really want to kind of watch this film now. It sounds good. You explained it really well. I guess comparing this film to other films Darren Aronofsky has directed, does it have any similar traits or themes that kind of he's used again or carried over between the films, or is it just kind of like a new messed up take, kind of like what he's done with most of his other ones?
It's actually probably his lead. Like I know he filmed Noah in like 2014, which is real bad, the Russell Crowe film, whereas Noah's Ark, like that obviously went into more the biblical side of things, which we also saw with like Mother. But this one does deal a lot with faith and religion. As I said, there's a Jehovah's Witness character. I don't want to, I guess, delve into the plot too much. I was about to go say something, but it would be spoilers. Yeah. So there is sort of, in terms of like faith and religion and being accepted by God, they do kind of go a bit into that.
You said that in a few films now, Mother and Noah.
Well, Mother, Noah. But I guess the overall plot's very similar to Wrestler. Like realistically, Wrestler's about a former wrestler who tries to reconnect with his daughter after a health prognosis, and this is essentially the exact same baseline plot.
Yeah.
But in terms of it, it's probably actually his least messed up film.
Cool.
I mean, Mother was really fucked up. Requiem for a Dream, which I love, is, about heroin addiction basically. And really, this is hard to watch at moments where you obviously see a 600-pound man eating 4 slices of pizza in in one hand kind of thing. Like that. It's kind of like, but you can't look away. Whereas like obviously the other film, Mother, you see, a baby's neck getting snapped. And it's just completely different, I guess, vastness of different. But this is, the thing about this is it's a lot more human.
Okay.
It's obviously Mother, like even though like it's messed up, it's obviously quite far-fetched and based on a religion, a religious piece, whereas this is very human and realistic in a way. And it comes down to the main thing of dealing with loss and grief and like it's something that I can genuinely see someone going through if they did lose a partner or a loved one, where they go through that hole of comfort eating and then they just want to die essentially.
That's very relatable.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this film at all to your kind of friends or family? I don't see your mum going to go watch it, but is it worth a watch?
It is worth a watch I think for performances alone, it's definitely worth a watch. The screening was actually quite packed, and there weren't many dry eyes by the end. Let's put it that way. It's definitely worth a watch for the performance alone, and I think everyone can take something out of it. As I said, the human side of things. I walk out wanting to be a better person.
Yeah, okay.
You kind of get it in the trailer. He's obviously been a bit of a awful dad, neglected his daughter, wants to reconnect when he's dying, basically. So it's like everyone, I think, can take something good out of it, of wanting to be a better person, wanting to be potentially a better father, brother, sister, son, daughter. It's certainly not, whether they enjoy it, I'm not too sure, because it is quite hard watching a 600-pound man eat his life away, and obviously the depressive state he's in. Certain people in certain state of minds, they might watch that and think this is too hard to watch because they might be able to relate to it too much. So I would definitely recommend it, but I think it's one of those films you need to be very careful about who you recommend it to.
Gotcha.
I actually probably would say my mum would, probably wouldn't mind it.
Really?
It's not hard to watch in terms of it's, really, really messed up. It's just very emotional. It's an emotional ride, basically. So I definitely recommend the viewers to see it, and I'm sure they have if they're in America.
Yeah, cool.
Unfortunately, we get a late release here.
Always. I've got 2 more, and they're very quick and they're very basic, and they're definitely more of a lighter note compared to some of the tough ones that I've just asked. But stolen a bit of the old Rotten Tomatoes here. Out of Dirty Socks, where Clean Socks is a perfect movie and 10 Dirty Socks is the worst movie, where do you place this film out of socks that are dirty?
Socks that are dirty. I'd give it out of...
So, clean being perfect.
I'd give it a clean sock with a bit of, I'd get in terms of rate, we don't usually rate films on here just because I'm sure if I see this film a second time, I'll probably take different things away from it.
Course.
But at the moment, if I'm rating it out of 5 or 10, as you say, I'd give it 7 out of 10, dirty. So it's 7 out of 10 in cleanliness.
It's only
There's certain moments that didn't hit for me, but it's definitely something that'll sit with me for quite a while. And it's not one of those films you enjoy, as we always talk about, but you can definitely respect the craft, respect the art behind it, and watch it for the performances alone. It's just,
All right, my last one, and then you can finish it up there. Last but not least, describe to, I guess, our listeners and myself, or I guess summarize in total this entire film in only 3 words. Give it your best crack.
3 words.
3 words that sum up this film. Maybe just pick an aspect and go, bang this,
Do they have to does it have to be a sentence, or can I just pick 3 random words?
You can do 3 random words. You can do 3 words that make like a sentence. So I was in fantastic movie 2023. That's 3 words, whatever. Give it your best crack. Yep, good.
Tearfully claustrophobic. That's a difficult one.
It's hard to follow
Tearfully
up.
claustrophobic messy.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like tearfully
It sounds like a hard time. That's
It's
for
a
sure.
hard time.
Yeah.
It's not an easy watch. Luckily, it's only 2 hours, if that. I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, that's
Other
pretty
than
much it from me. You can clock off
Easy,
there,
close it
boss.
off. Well, if you have seen it, let us know what you think in the comments below. Let us know if you like this format. I'm sure there's films in the future that I'll see that Daniel might not, or vice versa. So let us know what you think in the comments. Other than that, I'm sure we'll see you later this week when Oscar announce their nominations, which I'm sure we'll see Brendan Fraser and probably makeup and hairstyling, considering he actually wore a 600-pound fat suit. So,
Yeah.
other than that, we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.